A shiny transparent backside and nothing more? Or the second attempt to disrupt the boring Android market is a spot on. Here's what I think after using the Nothing Phone 2 as a daily driver for a month. Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. Are you ready for nothing? This video is not gonna hype you. It's not sponsored by Nothing, it's not sponsored by any other smartphone company, it's just me sharing my own genuine thoughts about Nothing Phone 2, and honestly from all the smartphones of 2023, it's the only smartphone I was eagerly, curiously expecting to arrive. In a matter of fact, I was very well prepared because last year with Nothing Phone 1, I got a little disappointed, so my expectations from this year were fairly low, although there has been a lot of hype and CowPay has been featured in most of the trendsetting YouTube channels in order to explain why Nothing Phone 2 is supposed to be the coolest phone of 2023. So in this video, we're gonna check on its strong and weak sides and figure out whether it's really as fun as they promise it is. Nothing is definitely the most interesting tech startup when it comes to smart and wearable devices, and Phone 2 is their best development to date. It has to compete not only with flagships, but also with some very consistent mid-rangers, so the $680 price tag is definitely not helping much about gaining broader user base, which could also be a carefully calculated decision. Concerning the unboxing, here's a fun fact: the most interesting package of the year, ruined by laundry detergent, which made my Unispack look a little uglier. I was confident that the folio around it is going to keep it safe, but forgot about one fact. Nothing are obsessed with their goal to be environmental friendly and even report the carbon footprint for their Nothing 2, so there's nothing like a protective folio. Obviously their attempts deliver good results, however not yet any better than Oppo or Apple's achievements. The rest of this procedure you've probably seen from many other reviews. Actually, this is the only smartphone different to OnePlus One. Apparently, it takes away the pleasure of receiving an inbox charger. Nothing claimed that the USB cable included is transparent, but this is only partially correct. This time I went to the dark side, still not sure whether I like the dark or the light edition more, but I definitely don't like the size, it's too big for my taste. Honestly, using the smaller S23 for a few months felt so refreshing. Specifications are something that probably you've heard many other birds to sing about, so this time you can read them as a reference in case you need a refresher, and let me remind you that if you're concerned about this sound, you shouldn't be. It's caused by the OIS implementation on the camera, and most modern smartphones have it. Before I say anything about the specs, there's something I want to make very clear, that now in 2023, building hardware is more challenging than ever, and likely Nothing have been facing a lot of challenging while they were putting this smartphone together, because it's one thing to go ahead and do negotiations with your suppliers when you're Apple, Samsung, Xiaomi and so on, because you can order huge volumes and get decent discounts in return. It's another thing to be Nothing, a fancy startup which is obviously going to sell about 800,000 units or a bit more, and trying to squeeze the best possible pricing. Therefore, I believe the pack that you receive is among the best that the company could squeeze given their current situation. So the system on a chip, it's last year's best, Snapdragon 8 Plus Generation 1. We have a generous amount of RAM, we have generous amount of storage. According to UFS 3.1 specifications, it's also a bit outdated. We have large enough battery with a quick enough charging. When it comes to wired charging, it's a USB 2.0 port in terms of specifications. That's, in my opinion, a criminal act for 2023 standards. The camera is 50 megapixels, the main camera over here, and we're going to talk about it in just a moment. And what Nothing want us to focus on, their amazing performance, the Glyphs interface, this transparent back with all the LEDs around, and of course, the software. So let's check on all of that. Real-life experience has brought some mixed feelings to me. As a proud father and husband, and someone who has a lot of things happening outdoors in life, I demand exceptional camera performance. Please know that most of the photos are taken with Nothing OS versions 2.01 and 2.02, where the camera performance is supposedly improved. But the first thing I noticed after switching to Nothing Phone 2 was the lack of brightness on the display side. Coming from Galaxy S23, which has superb AMOLED screen, I was hoping that the 7–8% difference in terms of specs won't be that irritating, but it feels like as if there's a bigger gap between those. Carl Pei's team opted for the IMX890 by Sony as a main image sensor. Such one you can find with the OnePlus Nord 3, OnePlus 11 and some Realme or Oppo devices. It's good, in some situations very good, and that's it. It can certainly challenge some of the best out there in daytime performance, but no matter how good software processing is, it may not be able to catch up with the performance of S23 Ultra or Xiaomi 13 Pro or the mighty Huawei P60. Nighttime captured photos look great though, and even the video performance is excellent no matter the conditions. The ultra-wide camera is somewhat boring, but if you have enough patience, creativity and good light, it's gonna pay off with solid and consistent performance. What is weird is the direction of the camera app development. Instead of letting users customize it, nothing seemed to chase the iPhone way. The interface is kind of similar. When it is dark, the night mode automatically kicks in, and finally there is a way to manually switch it on. There's expert mode with manual controls, but it's limited to photos only, and I dare you to check Samsung's camera app or the MIUI camera app in order to see how much more functions are integrated without ruining the pleasant user experience. Among the interesting features is the video night mode, and it's surprisingly good, but no way to use the stock camera to film in more cinematic way. Portrait video mode, which is quite famous with Galaxy and Pixel models, is a no-go. There even is no way to film in 24 frames per second, something apparently supported by the hardware and accessible by third-party apps, but in that case, nothing gives access only to the optical image stabilization, which is not ideal. Front camera is good, not capable of handling 4K video though. To summarize the overall camera experience with simple words, excellent for photography, somewhat limited about video recordings, and overall feels underwhelming given the price point and the hype surrounding the phone. Perhaps the strongest out of all is the performance component. Without any doubt, it's class-leading. Maybe the best performing Snapdragon 8 Plus Generation 1 smartphone I've had in my hands. End of story. It very much reminds me of the way OnePlus used to optimize their phones. The gap to Snapdragon 8 Generation 2 in most cases is around 5–6%, so if you're concerned about performance, don't be. It can easily be compensated with software optimizations which nothing seemed to have in place. Using the software feels amazing. It's almost Google Pixel-like experience, but a little better and nicer, and the phone doesn't get warm in your hands when you do basic things like scrolling on Instagram, for instance. Most of the requested features, which Google are too proud to admit are a must-have, are present with Nothing OS, like the better tile customization, the ability to switch on and off the Wi-Fi without going to the menu, the ability to swap the navigation bar buttons, the monochromic app icons, the lock screen widget support, the app locker, the cloned apps feature, and so on. If you like the Pixel experience, you're gonna love the Nothing Phone 2 experience. And of course, it's perfect for gamers, at least concerning performance. You can enjoy any game of your choice on a display with vivid colors and great refresh rate. Even the placement of the buttons being brought to the center makes perfect sense because no accidental presses. Part of the positive list is also the battery life, and nothing are great about extracting the best out of it. Plus, many people say that last year's Snapdragon is more power efficient, and charging speed is 45 watts when you use a cable. That's about right and almost on par with most flagships this year. I guess the presence of a wireless charging feature is out of question given the back of the phone. As for the glyphs part, I would just mention a few things. It's cool, it's attractive, in some ways it helps you to reduce the screen on time and perhaps the anxiety to check for notifications. This is what my balanced side is saying. My emotional side, however, is screaming loudly because Swedish House Mafia is involved about sounds, and the LEDs are the reason almost every kid is interested in my phone. Updates are spot on, bugs are literally non-existent. I learned about such from the release notes section, and the experimental features are now more than ever. The Tesla connection from the last year is still here, the AirPods support, even the Glyphs Progress integration with Uber. Well done! So apparently we have almost nothing to criticize about the software. I have mostly hardware things on my list exposing the negatives, the outdated USB standard, the not that polished camera performance, the lack of eSIM support, and the too high price tag given the hardware present. It's really weird, but I can't summarize Nothing Phone 2 with just a single word, and the more I use it, the more it feels like a OnePlus device from the old days, especially about the software optimizations. Because no, it doesn't have a class-leading camera, especially compared to 2023's flagships, and it doesn't have the class-leading tech specifications, but every single time I pick this phone up, it feels as if it's very unique and it has its own soul. And that's really brilliant. It's overpriced, it's overhyped, but at the same time, I don't have the reasons to tell you it's not worth it, because I really think it is. Brilliant job by Nothing in order to produce a Nothing Phone 2, and I can certainly recommend it, especially if you know what you're jumping into, and especially if you're fans of the Google Pixel software experience. So that's my take on one of the most interesting 2023 devices. In case you have questions, or in case you want to share about your experience or your thoughts about it, the comments is the right place to do it. As usual, I'm going to put a link to Nothing Phone 2 in the video description area, where you can also find some ways to help my work over here. And in case you want to start by doing something for free, give us a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in our next episode. Bye!